Idealism and responsibility, two ideologies that are often opposing each other. Idealism is the practice of forming or pursuing ideas that are especially unrealistic, and responsibility is the state or fact of having the duty to deal with something or be accountable for something. Aang, for his 12 years of life, has been a monk. He has believed in detaching himself from the world for the sake of reaching true enlightenment. He does not believe in fighting others unless absolutely necessary. He does not believe in bringing harm to people or even animals. For that reason, Aang is a vegetarian. He truly believes in helping people. But that is all kind of put at odds when Aang is revealed to be the Avatar, the master of four elements, a being who would do anything in order to have peace between all of the nations. Now, this doesn't just extend to how Aang views himself, it also extends to how the people around him now see him. Even his friends see him differently.
Now that you're the Avatar, it's kind of an unfair advantage for whichever team you're on.
But I'm still the same. Nothing's changed. So what? I can't play?
That's the only fair way.
Oh, okay.
Aang never wanted the powers of the Avatar. He never sought that as his being. As a matter of fact, the powers of the Avatar scare him. The idea of the responsibility of being the Avatar and what that means for what he has to do in his future. And so when he hears he is going to be separated from his own air nomad tribe, he runs. He is a child and he is scared. So when he does wake up 100 years later, unfrozen from a block of ice, only to realize that the world believes the Avatar, he abandoned them, he is, of course, kind of freaked out. He has to now defeat a warlord in the Fire Lord who has taken over almost all four nations and is essentially a dictator. Aang has to do this and master all four elements before summer's end. He has a little over a year to stop the Fire Lord before he is amplified by Sozin's coming comet. Now, the reason the comet is so dangerous is that it kicked off the war to begin with. It is going to amplify all of the firebenders throughout the world. So Aang has to do all of this in a very short amount of time. And so Aang decides to try and exchange his idealism for his responsibility. And in doing so, he ends up accidentally hurting Katara, one of his very close friends, by trying to learn firebending too quickly, a bending form often associated with anger and aggression. In the process, he hurt someone close to him, and for Aang, that signaled this was wrong. But he still has the responsibility to be the Avatar. Aang fears the power he has, specifically in the Avatar state. And in order to master the Avatar state, which he believes at the time is the only way for him to defeat the Fire Lord, he has to give up everything. All worldly possessions, give up all feeling, but not for enlightenment like the monks taught him, but so he can become the weapon that is to destroy Fire Lord Ozai. He has grown actively attached to the people around him, and not just the people, but he's become attached to his idealism. Aang decides to choose idealism over his responsibility, and unfortunately, in the process, he is severely damaged and as well cut off from the Avatar state, his greatest weapon against the Fire Lord, all in one fell swoop, because he tried to choose idealism over responsibility. And when Aang wakes up a few months later, the day of Black Sun is fast approaching. This is supposed to be the one day of the year where firebending is going to be off limits for firebenders, except for the fact that Aang basically feels that all of this is his fault. He has tried to choose idealism, he has tried to choose responsibility, and every turn, every step he feels like he has not only just failed, but put his friends' lives at risk.
Roku? You haven't failed, Aang.
But everyone thinks I'm dead again. They think I've abandoned them. And I'm losing this war. I'm letting the whole world down.
And even when Aang's friends find him after he has run off and they try to rally around him, he is given this opportunity to sort of look at his own idealism and try and hold on to it, as his friends believe that gives him strength. But at this point, I think Aang is so mentally defeated and so beaten down, he believes it to be a weakness. He is ready to shed it and to move on. He keeps his long grown hair, and he actively burns one of the few things that was left of his Air Nation heritage. It takes a genuine heart-to-heart from Roku, Aang's previous life, for him to sort of recontextualize and really reinvigorate the idea that maybe because he has this responsibility, it doesn't necessarily mean he has to give up on the ideals he was raised with and given at birth. That maybe he does not have to give up what makes him him.
Then what was the point?
Roku was just as much Fire Nation as Sozin was, right? If anything, their story proves anyone's capable of great good and great evil. Everyone, even the Fire Lord and the Fire Nation, have to be treated like they're worth giving a chance.
And so on the day of Black Sun, when Aang is finally ready to take on the Fire Lord, he is given a gift. He is given once again his Air Nomad glider, but rebuilt and better. And he is even ready to shed his hair. He is ready to truly embrace who he is once again. But on what was supposed to be the day of his greatest triumph, it ends up being the day of Aang's greatest failure. The Fire Lord knew about Aang's plot on the day of Black Sun to try and take him down. So this leaves Aang without the Fire Lord and without anything to gain except for a lot of hurt and lost friends on this day. So of course Aang decides to go off on his own once again in hopes that talking to his past selves will give him more ideas, as he finds that every corner he turns around, he is being told that he must kill Fire Lord Ozai. And so when he does decide to sit down and have a conversation with his past selves, it doesn't really help him. Aang is told one by each one of his past selves that he must kill Lord Ozai. He doesn't have a choice. That is what they are all telling him. They are telling him that his responsibility as the Avatar far outweighs and exceeds the ideals and idealism he was brought up with. That he must go against everything he stands for in order to do what must be done. And even when Aang gets into contact with a previous air nomad, one of his own people, he is given the same response.
Avatar Aang, I know that you're a gentle spirit, and the monks have taught you well. But this isn't about you. This is about the world.
But the monks taught me that I had to detach myself from the world so my spirit could be free.
Many great and wise air nomads have detached themselves and achieved spiritual enlightenment. But the Avatar can never do it, because your sole duty is to the world.
But there is potentially another way. Aang meets an ancient lion turtle who seeks to maybe give him what he is looking for. That maybe his responsibility and his idealism do not have to be at odds, but that they can work hand in hand to not only show himself, but to show the world that maybe there is a way for you to not only fulfill what you are supposed to do, but to do it in a way that is fulfilling to yourself. But on the day of the final battle with Ozai, where Sozin's comet is awoken, Aang was losing the battle handedly. It wasn't until he was able to reactivate the Avatar state that he was even close to putting up a fight against Ozai. But even in the Avatar state, and even with how angry and upset Aang was, he was not willing to concede on his ideals. He was willing to try the teachings of the lion turtle. He was willing to give it a shot. And so Aang decides to out of his better judgment, not to kill Ozai, but to try something different, to see if he could truly take care of his responsibilities while living up to his ideals. So Aang chooses the hard path. He chooses the path that nobody has walked. He tries to energy bend with Ozai, to strip Ozai of his bending completely, but in the process, he may just lose himself, because if his soul is not pure, and if his mind is not ready, he will be consumed by Ozai, and he will be left bendingless, and Ozai will win and essentially take over the world with nobody to stop him. But Aang was ready for this. He truly believed he could do this, and in the process, he was able to take Ozai's bending away, and he was able to not only live up to what he was supposed to do, but do it the way in which he wanted to. And in the process, Aang showed not only himself, but the entire world that it doesn't take killing in order to fix your problems, that his responsibilities did not outweigh his idealism. I know I've said that a lot, but I think that is truly core to Aang's character. I think it's poignant. The last scene of bending we see him do is to heal the fire that is burning everything with water, to see him help people. And in the end, Aang was able to save the day. And I think this is really important as a lesson, not just in some kids' TV show, but just for people in regular, everyday life. I, my best, try to live by my ideals and my idealism every single day, but I often find my responsibilities conflict with what I truly want to do or how I want to handle things. And I think it's important that we try to find that balance, that medium, because I don't think that responsibility and idealism have to fight against one another. I believe they can coexist, even if that means that maybe you don't get the best outcome, right? I made an entire almost 30-minute video about Spider-Man 2, talking about addiction and how it is harmful, and basically saying for people to please reach out, be there for one another, and get help. And that video has received almost no views comparatively to when I just talk about Batman, for example. I have a responsibility to this channel to make the kind of videos my viewers want to watch, want to click on, and want to see. And I think sometimes that comes into conflict with the kind of content that I want to create. I oftentimes want to talk about topics in which it will help people. I want this channel to sort of be something or somewhere for people to come and relax and enjoy, to challenge themselves on the media they watch and listen to, and as well just to spread some positivity, if anything at all. I can't do it all behind a screen, and I really hope at least I'm doing something. Hell, I said my last video didn't get any views, but who knows how this video is gonna do. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you want to leave a like, a comment, or a sub, that's truly appreciated. If you want to see these videos early and unedited, it's on my Patreon in the description below. Thank you all.